All right. Welcome everybody. We're back. We're back for another season of ACC. This is the 4th season of this iteration of ACC in ALR. Since we brought it back, we actually did 2 seasons when it first came out, and then it kind of died off. But now it is definitely back with force, because we've got a huge number of drivers who race for us in ACC now. It has been growing and growing every single season. Last season, of course, we saw our champion defend his title. I'm just trying to see if he's in. There he is, Weatherston. I don't think he's been in the lobby long. He's in the Honda this season he chose, and he's 1.5 seconds off the pace. So yeah, drivers were able to change the car for the season, and a lot of them have opted to do that. But first, let's go through the full-timers for this season. So this season we have brought back 3 tiers within the same lobby, so the gold tier, the silver tier, and the bronze. The gold tier has the most drivers. They are not the same number of drivers in each tier. So obviously we've got Weatherston, our reigning 2-time champion. He is in gold tier. Andy Winters and Capale are both back in gold as well, as is our runner-up from last season, Skinsy. Our silver champion, Oliver, or BO as people know in Discord. Peter is back in gold, as is Steenstra. Weston moves up to full-time after being a reserve last season. He is currently the quickest today with a 33.7 in practice. One to keep a lookout for. Then we got Glover, Scanlon, O'Morder, our helpers, and Regnix, who has done a lot as well to set up this ACC league. They're all gold. And the final one was the man who finished second in Valencia, Morrow. He is the last gold driver. So only one who was in silver last season has moved up to gold, and that is the silver champion, Oliver. In silver tier, we've got Brian. We've got Elite Spectre is back in ALR again and racing in the silver. So he is one to watch out for, because I know he was pretty quick in season 1. I think he was able to get a podium. He did make a few spins though. We got Kane back in silver, and Maura, or Moose King to you and me. Fitterer as well. I think he might have moved down from gold to silver, Fitterer. So he's another one to watch out for in terms of challenging for the silver championship, and also probably doing the best out of everyone today. Capadia, or I 2 Point Dog, or whatever we want to call him. Capadia. I'm going to call him Capadia. He is in silver, so he's in tier 6 in GT7, so interesting to see that he's not in bronze here. I think he's new to ACC as well. I don't think I saw him anyway. O'Leary is back in silver again, always good for challenging near the top of the class come the end of the season. The runner-up from last season, Tierney, or he was in with a shout. I think he might have finished 3rd in the end, actually. He didn't have a good Nürburgring at all at the last doubles points race of the season. We've got Pole back again in silver, and Cabras, who I think might have been in gold last time. I can't really remember. He is teammates with Morrow. They both have ART next to their names. Then in bronze, we brought bronze back. That's difficult to say. We got Alex. He is new, I'm pretty sure. I haven't seen him before. He's in bronze. Danders, we did see him. He was in silver, so he's gone to bronze. We got Mate, who is in tier 2 in GT7. He's just started playing ACC. He's starting out in bronze, as well as Roloffs, who was there last season. Skippers and Blocker are both new, starting out in bronze. Fracas and Chaos Druid and Major we saw lots of last season. Major's raced ever since the beginning of ACC as well. Van Hall, who's a new one, and then we got Fitzpatrick, or Fitzinho, and Paris, who made his debut at the end of last season. Bit of a baptism of fire for him. A tier 1 driver in GT, so we know he is capable of improving a lot as the season goes on and he gets used to the game. Let's have a look at what cars people are doing. So it looks like the McLaren is quite popular. It's got the top 3 times currently in practice. We've got just over 3 minutes left until we start, so it gives us a bit of time. Andy Winters and Fitzinho both in the McLaren, as well as Chaos Druid and Bayliss, who must be a reserve, and Kane as well. So McLaren's looking very popular. We got a few Ferraris. Moro Rojnov, another reserve. He's pretty quick up into P6. Not as many as McLarens actually. Not McLarens, Ferraris. We've got Cabras and Capel in the Ferrari, as well as skippers Blocker, and ignore me at the bottom because obviously I won't be... Oh, someone's been disqualified from practice. I wonder how that happens. Any other interesting ones? Yes, there is a few interesting ones. So Weatherston's in the Honda. He's the only one in the Honda, so I have no idea if this is a good car or not. Maybe he's giving himself a little nerf. Because he's over a second off the pace at the moment, so it doesn't look quick in practice, but this is only practice. We've got a few Mustangs out on track as well. So Peter in the Mustang in gold, and Oliver also in the Mustang in gold. So we got Alex as well, the newbie. He is also in the Mustang. So 3 Mustangs tonight. I think only silver drivers drove it last season, so I'm guessing it's up there in terms of pace, maybe not the meta. Then we've got a few Beamers, Maura and Fracas in the BMWs, O'Leary and the newbie Van Hall in the Beamers as well. Only 4. And then a few Porsches. We always love seeing a Porsche. So Scanlon's swapped over to Porsche for the season. Forza is in the Porsche. Elite Spectre as well. And then just one Lamborghini actually. Fitterer is the only Lamborghini driver. So that's interesting. Oh, we've actually got a Nissan as well. Paris in the Nissan, and he's within a second of the fastest time. So this, well, him and Fitzinho, the 2 bronze drivers, are in 8th and 9th. So that's pretty good. I think they're beating all of the silver at the moment as well. It is only practice, but that's pretty impressive. But yeah, let's just have a quick look at this quickest guy, Weston. He was a reserve last season, so this is going to be his first full-time season in ALR. And he looks like he's taking it seriously as well. It goes really wide there on the final corner. I don't know if that is allowed or not. We'll have to wait and see in qualifying if that invalidates sometimes. So him, and I think we're going to see the usual suspects. We've got Weatherston down in 11th and Forster down in 13th. They should be in the top 4 come the end of qualifying for sure. And then, yeah, we've got a few unknowns. Peter looking a little bit more competitive now in the Mustang, going just a 10th shy as qualifying ended, as practice, ended there. So we're at Misano. Oh, Bayliss is a Munkin. Okay, brilliant. Alex is a she, thank you. Yeah, so let's see if who's the first out on track. It looks like it might be not Oliver. This is not. Oh, Fracas in the gravel, and he's reset. Okay. So number 243, where is that? That is Paris. So the first man to set a qualifying lap is going to be someone who's won championships in LR before, but in a completely different game. In GT7 he won the tier 2 championship in his first full season. This is his first full season in ACC, so is he going to be winning the bronze championship? Let's ride with him as he begins his lap now as we're coming to the start finish straight. Looks like yellow flags are out already. We're not in qualifying. I feel stupid. Fuck. Ah, that was embarrassing. I thought we were already in quali because drivers started coming out of the pits. Ah, fuck's sake. We've not even started qualifying yet, and I've done my first gaff of the season. Many more will come. But at least I've found out how to do something with the horrible spectator mode that you get in ACC to get some good angles on stream. I think the TV mode is always going to be the best to do. Thanks, Chaos. Right, here we go. Now we're starting quality.
Green light, go, go, go.
I doubt it's going to be Paris who leaves the pits first this time. Today we've got, wow, 32 drivers in the race today, and then just me at the end there, commentating. So that, just qualifying in the top 20 is going to be an achievement for a lot of these guys, to be honest. So who's out first? Number 1, 2, 3. That is Rozhanov out first, actually. So I'm pretty sure this guy's new. Ukrainian driver in the Ferrari, straight in at gold in ACC here. So we're expecting some big things. We know this Ferrari is very, very quick. It was the favorite car, certainly in season 1. It's one of those cars that you have to pay for. It comes as part of a pack, and it is much better than all the other Ferraris on offer. So we've got a nice little gaggle of 4 cars at the front. Scanlan's in there as well, and Regnick's as well there, so they might be getting some good slipstream off each other when they start their laps. They've still got a couple of corners to go. A bit wide there for Roznov. I don't know if that is allowed or if you get a track limit. The penalties are pretty fair in ACC. They just go on the official lines that the FIA designate for the tracks, which makes it nice and straightforward. Okay, the first lap of season 4 is going to be set by Roznov. Number 1, 2, 3 car in the Ferrari has taken swooping right-hander into turn 1 and then left-hander into turn 2. It's a bit too, they're a bit too far away, those corners, to actually call it a chicane. Bit more like 2 fast corners coming up. Now we've got a bit of a hairpin here. It's actually 2 corners itself, but you want to kind of point the car so that you're not turning as much as possible. I'm expecting pole to be in the mid to high 33s based on what we saw in practice. The quickest in practice was the 33.7. So we are just about to enter the best overtaking spot on the track. So this is a really long straight with a kink in the middle. Looks like he's left behind a couple of the drivers who are a little bit closer on the start of the lap. He kicks up a bit of dust as he goes flat out around that right-hander. That's the rumble strip that he went a little bit wide on in the warm-up lap, but he didn't do that on this one. And braking for the final hairpin of the race before it's going to be all accelerating, apart from a couple of left-handers here. Like I said, 33s we're looking for pole time, maybe top 10, low 34s. And he does a 34.6 already, so a solid opening lap. I think he's got a lot of scope to improve there. Scanlan looks like he didn't set a time. Regnick's only 1/10 back on Rozhanov's time, so definitely quick for Rozhanov, being ahead of Morrow as well, and Capel, who've just set the times. Capel setting a pretty rough lap there. Let's just ride on board with O'Morda, another gold driver, as we see the times start to come in. So Cabras leading the silver drivers at the moment, just ahead of Vitera by 3/10. And our champion Weatherston 6/10 behind as well, so he's only in P6. Only 10 drivers setting valid laps so far, so probably some disconnects there. As O'Morda's on the back straight now. We've got Forza down in P9 there as well, so him and Weatherston both struggling on their opening laps, expecting a lot more time from Forza, being 1.2 seconds off pole at the moment in that Porsche as well. And then Dan's doing pretty well, P11 and head of the bronze class overall, 1.3 seconds off the pace. and Spectre is just ahead of him as the lead silver driver. Meanwhile, we've got Omoda finally coming around the final corner, one of the last people to set a hot lap here, and Omoda is got enough for... Oh, he must have invalidated, so he's ruined his lap. Scanlon is going to be setting his second hot lap here. His first was invalidated. This one is enough to put him all the way up into P9, so he's a full second off of Peter though. So let's see what Weatherson, our champion's doing. He's got a couple corners left to go on this, his second hot lap. 6/10 down at the moment of Peter, who's just gone 3/10 ahead of Rozhnov as well. So great opening lap for Peter in that Mustang. Andy Winters up into 5th as well, and Steenstra is 7th now. So Weatherston really needs to find some improvement here, and he just jumps up to 3rd, an identical time to Rozhnov, but has obviously said it later, so he slots in just behind and really just ahead of Weston as well, who's about to finish his lap, and he moves up to 1st with a 34.2. Still feel that there's a lot of time in this because that is still half a second down on his best in the previous practice session, but he didn't have 31 other cars on the track with him. So it's Weston, then Peter, then Steenstra, who's popped up into P3 there, all within a 10th of a second, and then a little bit of a gap to Rozhnov and Weatherston and Morrow. Paris is up into 11th again, bettering his time. He's still 1.1 seconds away, but that is a much better time. He's 3/10 up against the next highest bronze driver, Fitzpatrick, down in 14th. And it's pretty close between Spectre and Fitterer. Like I said, it might be this season, and they are within a 10th of each other in qualifying as well. Omar has popped up into 12th with his first hot lap. So him, Oliver and Capel have a bit of improving to do. Capel's got some drivers behind him. He's in a lot of traffic here, so might find it tough improving on this lap. He's 3 seconds down though. He goes very wide there, and that is that's a bit rough. Okay. Hopefully he doesn't get in the way of some of these cars when he rejoins, but Oliver is swooping through. Let's see if Oliver can improve on his 4th or 5th lap that he's on here. He's down at 18th now, and he rises all the way up into the top 7 within half a second of the pole time at the moment. Weatherston has improved again. He's 4th, and he's just reset to the pits to go straight back out for the second phase of qualifying. We've got 7 minutes and 40 seconds left. Steenstra is now the quickest driver on the track as he bails out in a chicane there. So at 34.1, we are getting quicker with every lap. Weston is the only one in the top 4 currently on a lap, so let's see if he can improve on his time. He's actually just in the first sector. Yeah, the top 3 super close together. Weatherston you can't rule out either. He's been in the pits for a minute or two now. We've got Reznik, Rozhnov, Oliver, Morrow, Winters and Paul, all gold drivers in the top 12. Then Paris actually ahead of all the silver drivers currently, 1.1 seconds down. Maybe he needs to be put up... Well, we'll have to see how he does in the race, but this is definitely silver pace from Dan, and actually Fitzinho. Both of them very similarly paced here. What is the maximum driver capacity? That is unknown. We pay for, I think, 40 slots, but usually you can't fit 40 in one lobby. Morrow's up into 2nd, by the way, and Andy's up into 3rd. So Weston is dropping down a little bit here. Everyone's back out on track now. Weston really needs to improve on this because there's 4 within half a 10th of each other at the moment at the top here. Incredibly tight qualifying as he rounds the final corner. Needs to be an improvement, maybe into the 33s like he did previously if he could do that. He's He's improved very slightly up into 3rd, so ahead of Andy again. Let's see what Weatherston could do. He is still on an out lap, it looks like. What about Forza? Forza must be on a hot lap. He's dropped down to 9th now, still 4/10 down on the best result. He's actually set an identical time to Rozhnov, and that is I think the same time that Weatherston set before he bettered it as well. This is a lot closer qualifying than we had in the races that I commentated last season, that's for sure. So, yes. Dan's dropped all the way down to 17th now, so lots and lots of drivers are improving now as qualifying wears on. The track is warming up as well. Got pretty low wind and normal track temperature. It's not too hot at all for the cars, so I don't think overheating is going to be an issue. And Forza backs out of it, actually. Let's see what Regnix can do, because he's actually popped up into P1 and we missed that, so he's just started his next lap. He's already caught the driver in front. 34 flat now, so we're very close to the 39s. No one's managed to crack it yet. Regnix won't be improving here. What about Morrow? Morrow's in 3rd place, just a little bit behind Regnix. So Reg didn't do too well in the races I commentated last season, and this is a huge improvement so far for him. Maybe it is the McLaren that is agreeing with him, or he's found a great setup for today. Just a bit more time to practice. We've had a lot of weeks off, haven't we? So this is actually going to be quite a surprise qualifying if Weatherston or Forza don't actually get into the top 3. Bit of a changing of the guard potentially on offer here, depending on what happens in the race. Morrow's completely lost it there. Let's have a look at where Weston is. He's in the pits by the looks of things. Andy Winters, let's see if he can improve. He's only a few corners away from finishing this lap. Still got a couple of laps left for everybody to do as well, and then try and improve. And he's staying to the right for the end of the lap, and he doesn't improve, and he's slowing down. He's going to reset to pits and probably go straight back out. The next one to have a look at is going to be Peter. Peter down in P6 at the moment, despite only being 0.185 away from pole. Yeah, Dan and Fitz both haven't improved on their times. Still stuck together, but they've dropped down to 17th and 18th as the silver and the gold drivers have started improving. Peter, around the final corner, is he going to be able to improve on his time? He does, but he's still 6th. Rosnov is going to cross the line and not improve either. Scanlon's going to be one of the next ones to cross the line. Down to 12th now, Scanlon. So he's got a lot of improving to do here. 6/10 off the pace. What can he do here on his... He's up into 8th, ahead of Rosnov, just behind Weatherston. Let's see what Weatherston's up to. He's not actually out of the pits. Just trying to see who we can ride on board with. Oliver looks like he's about to finish his lap. Down to 12th for him, the silver champion. He has not improved. He stays 12th. Forza is only a couple of corners away. He's not been this low in qualifying in a while. He'll want to be improving here. It looks like he stayed 10th as well. Andy Winters, what can you do? Doesn't improve, so no one is improving. Peter's going to be the next challenger. Couldn't improve, well, did improve last time, but not his position, just by a couple of hundredths. And Peter just goes top. He's the first one in the 33.9. Morrow goes into P4. Weston is 5th, and Andy Winters is 6th at the moment. Let's see if any of the other challengers are close to finishing a lap. Looks like it'll be Scanlon. Scanlon just overtook that back marker, who's getting out of the way for the car behind as well. So can Scanlon continue his improvements? He improved to 4/10 back on his previous effort. This is going to be the start of his final lap now. He doesn't improve. The next one looks like it's going to be Oliver again. So some of these drivers aren't really setting times at the moment. Oliver is out though and looking to improve. He's just crossed the line in time to finish the last lap, but he didn't improve that time. So the checkered flag is out now. The first of the front runners to reach the checkered flag is going to be Forza. Forza down in 10th. Is he actually going to improve at all? He's set that lap very early on. He stays 10th. Couldn't improve. Next to come to the finish line will be number 87. No, none of these are front runners at the moment. Let's go a little bit further down. The problem is there's so many. It looks like Alex is going to cross the line. She is going to start at the back. Number 2 is Brian. Brian's currently in 20th. Silver driver has bailed out into the pits. So that means number 87, O'Leary, is going to be the next one to try and improve. He's down in 26th. Not too great in terms of how he's comparing with the Silvers at the moment. 2.8 off of pole time. So he's got a lot of time here to find if he can do it as we head with just a few cars left. Looks like Weatherston's going to be the last one to set a time. So we'll join him after O'Leary. O'Leary down in 26th. Does he improve? Only one position. Now let's join with Weatherston, the final driver, who is approaching the final corner as well. Everyone else has bailed back into the pits. And it says the session's ended actually. So is he going to improve? No. I don't know what's happened there. But yeah, Weatherston starting 8th, our defending champion, with a fairly bad qualifying by his standards in the Honda this season. Interesting. Peter though, pole position for Peter. I think there's points for pole as well. Steenstra second, a really good qualifying for him. Regnick's jostled down to 3rd in the end after having provisional pole for a while. Morrow, a solid qualifying for him, starting 4th. Weston, the quickest in practice, 5th on the grid today, ahead of Andy, Rojnov, Weatherston, Scanlon, and Forza, our runner-up from last season, in 10th. Our silver pole position goes to Elite Spectre, as we thought that it might. He is 3/10 quicker than Fitterer, and who's lining up 16th, so a few spots further back. And Cabras, who had provisional pole in class, is in 17th, slightly behind him. Longworth and Bryan are the top 5 of silver, with Paris and Fitzpatrick the only bronze drivers in the top 20. Dan Paris actually getting within a second of pole time, so in the 34s, the only one in the 34s, and managed to set a much quicker time in the end compared to Fitzpatrick. So he's got the pace. This is going to be only his second ACC race, so consistency is going to be a big question mark for him. Now we just have to wait while everyone gets their setups ready for the race, puts in the appropriate amount of fuel, all that kind of stuff. Make sure they're not starting the race on these scrubbed qualifying tyres as well. Here we go. Right, let's ride on board. Well, it doesn't want me to yet. There we go. With Peter, our pole sitter, in the Ford Mustang. Ford Mustang on pole. You love to see it. It's a great car. Very unique car as well. Lots of power with the American engine, obviously. And yeah, it seems to love this tight and twisty circuit. Well, I guess it's got a straight to take advantage of as well. Now these guys need to enter before the timer ticks out and click drive, because if they don't, they will suddenly be reset to the pits. So if you see a couple of drivers disappear, that is why that's happened. The reason why the cars are shaking is when they click drive. That is them actually in control. The way it works is we do one warm-up lap side by side like this. Everyone will have a chance to warm the tyres. And then we do a side-by-side rolling start every round in ACC, which makes a really tight entry into Turn 1 when we're thinking 32 cars into a fairly well, medium speed right-hander followed by a really tight left-hander and then a hairpin shortly after that. There is a lot of scope for incidents on lap one especially. So the drivers at the front have a huge advantage there. They have the best chance of missing all of that. You don't really want to be starting in the mid-pack, it's got to be said. And if you're at the back, you do avoid the accidents initially, but you might have to weave through some of the spun around cars, which can be quite difficult when you're trying to go at speed and not lose lots of time to the front as well. So top 12 are gold drivers. And then Omoda down in 15th. And where's Capale? Capale down in 24th for gold. That's really bad. Maura is last and he's a silver driver as well, so not great starts for either of them. Here we go. Peter is finally up and running. Everyone else a little bit slower to get going. So, whilst they're doing this slow lap, I'm going to make some predictions. Predictions for the championship, based on what I've seen today, essentially. I think bronze is going to go to Fitzinho, purely on experience, and potentially because Dan Paris might end up getting bumped up to silver. I don't know if they do that, but I think he might be a little bit misplaced. Silver, I'm going to go to Fitterer, because I'm surprised he's in silver after what I saw last season. And then gold, that's the tough one. Everyone was so close in that qualifying. I think Weatherston might rule himself out in that Honda. Forster doesn't look very comfortable in the Porsche, but this is just week one. This is the week where everyone's had all the practice for, because we had the evaluation race here a week ago. Everyone practices extra hard for round one. My head says just back Weatherston. He'll come good in the end. But as a wild card pick, I am going to go for Regnix because he has the experience. He's won before, and he's up in P3 now, so he clearly likes this McLaren this season. So remember that for the rest of the season, that I might have just commentators cursed all of those drivers. I'm quite good at it. It's a blessing and a curse. Right, we are approaching the final couple of corners now. And everyone is going to start lining up in formation here. Oh, I'm not sleeping on Forza. I can't pick him because we're mates. So it would be biased. Right, here we go. $900 subs, let's go. Oh, yeah, don't forget to subscribe if you are watching and you aren't already. It would really help out the channel. We need to get to 1,000 to start making money on YouTube. Right, anyway, here we go. Season 4 is about to go live. Everyone's about to floor the throttle. Green light is go, and it looks like a pretty rough start there for Peter. It looks like Steenstra got caught him by surprise, but Peter is braking really late into turn 1. He had the inside line, and now Steenstra has the outside line. They're still side by side, and Peter might have just been very lucky to get away with that. So the top two, as you were, Regnix now shuffled down a little bit. Steenstra is getting overtaken there by Andy Winch, who's had a great start. Steenstra is round. He's been hit, and that's just caused a huge traffic jam of cars behind. Let's have a look at what's happening at the front, though, where this is a bit of a mess because Anyway, Peter still has the lead ahead of Andy Winters, Morrow in P3. Weatherston has already leaped up to 4th, Weston 5th, still. Steenstra down to 6th after that, with Rosnod 7th, Scanlon 8th, Redsix 9th, and Oliver in 10th. So very, very close after the first sector, but Peter is starting to gap Andy Winters at the front. This was a really good start for Peter. His closest rival, who should have really got him at the start, has been shuffled back now. And we've got a huge gaggle of cars. We've got a purple car going off on the right there, completely span it round. Everyone really close together. Regnick's not had the best start either. He's down into P8 now, battling with the Porsche of Scanlon. They've Forza also having a bad start. Our runner-up from last season down to 11th, battling with Oliver there in the Mustang, trying to keep 11th place from Oliver as Spectre got past both of them. So good start for Spectre. He's got a huge cushion to the guys behind, and Paris as well. Well, it looks like Fitzinho's had a big incident. He's all the way at the back, and Chaos as well. So we're starting lap 2. Peter has a comfortable lead ahead of Andy Winters, and then there's a huge lead back to Weatherston. So he's got past, oh, it looks like Morrow had a bit of a nightmare, dropping back to 7th there. So P3 for Weatherston, P4 for Weston, who is just ahead of a gaggle of cars. So we'll stick with these because this looks like a pretty close battle. All these drivers very closely paced, so any little mistakes could get pounced on. Rosnov fancies a move on Weston here. He's positioning his car in a good place, but Weston really late on the brakes and got a great entry into the corner there to keep that position. Steenstra is just on a recovery drive now after what happened in the first lap. I think we might end up seeing that in the stewards room. I'm not entirely sure who was at fault there, but he was definitely the big loser. Actually, he was lucky to only drop a few positions because he, although could be winning this race at the moment, he's he's damage limitation P6. Weston's still just 7/10 behind Weatherston, so he's doing all right on this lap despite getting overtaken. We know that Weatherston's got absolutely great race pace, and he's already in a podium position here. He's going to try and catch Andy Winters. Rosnov struggling a bit to overtake Weston, but he might have a chance as we head into lap 3 if he gets a good exit here. He's actually a little bit closer to the car behind Steenstra than he is to Weston in front of him. So, might be a bit of a tough track for overtaking by the looks of things. There is one very long straight on the back end of the track. So it might be a race of attrition at this point. Who can be the most consistent and avoid the cars in front and behind them. But yeah, really tight top 9 at the moment. Pretty much everyone, once you get to 3rd place, is separated by less than a 1/10 of a second here. A little bit further down, let's see how Dan's doing. Dan is just ahead of a few gold drivers, sorry. Just half a second ahead of Omorda. Omorda qualified around about here, and he's still in 14th position. So not just an average start for him. He's managed to get ahead of some A-rated drivers. A little bit further down, we got Fitcherer, who can't have had a very good start. He is behind Kane, who's had a great start, up into P2 for silver. And then down in the bronze, we got Fracas in 24th, just ahead of Van Hall. They look like they're battling down the back straight there, just behind these cars. And O'Leary really far down in 27th, and having a little bit of contact there with Alex. Whoa! Who was that? Everyone's all over the place. Fitzinho's got some advertising boards in the well, they were trapped in his wheel there. Wow, this is a bit of a mess at the back. It looked really solid and nothing happening at the front. All the action is at the back. These cars a little bit all over the show, going off track. And who was that orange car? The big loser was the orange car, Skipper's. So not a great debut so far, but there's a long way to go. We've still got 54 minutes. Peter, meanwhile, at the front with the fastest lap, 3-second lead. He is absolutely cruising in this Mustang, and this could end up being an inspired car choice by him. because he wasn't this quick last season, that's for sure. Winters just a solid P2 ahead of Weatherston as we're coming down this really long back straight. Weston is just ahead of Rosnov still at the moment. So Rosnov really has the pace to probably reel in Weatherston at the moment, but he is stuck behind Rosnov, and this is the point of the race where you can't afford to make a single mistake because you're going to fall backwards against other cars that are potentially slower than you, but you just can't overtake the car in front, who seems to be slower than all of them at the moment. Weatherston just needs to focus, not Weatherston, Weston. It's difficult, they're right next to each other. He just needs to focus on setting solid lap times, potentially getting a bit closer to Weatherston to get advantage of the slipstream as well. Forza currently in 11th, still stuck behind Spectre, and still... actually, he's dropped Oliver, so he's 10th behind Spectre. He needs to overtake him very quickly, because Spectre's dropping off at the back of Scanlon now. And he's dropping back, actually. He's dropping back into the clutches of Oliver here, so he's making mistakes on his opening round of this season. Unlike his championship rival from last season, who's just starting to cruise away from Weston. Weston going really wide there. I thought he was going to open the door at the hairpin for Rosnov, but Rosnov might get a really good exit there if the entry was wrong by Weston to finally try and have a go. He's definitely in the slipstream. And it's still not enough. It's still not enough. So I don't know if it's to do with setups or what else it might be. But yeah, Weston having the speed on the straight and Rosnov not really able to trouble him, despite getting a bit of slipstream help as well. So 5 laps in. And 4.4 seconds. Jesus, Peter's nearly a second a lap, at least quicker than the rest of the field. A little bit further down, Spectre's still ahead of Forza. Forza's not actually really caught up to him. Paris is comfortably ahead of Omoda as well. Omoda's still not able to get past. Fitterer, meanwhile, has managed to gain a few places. He's up into 15th. So he's back into P2 for class, ahead of Cabras there, into the silver class. He is under a lot of pressure from Cabras, though. Cabras wants that position back. Looks like he's pretty racy at the moment as well, Cabras. And he might be going for it. He looks like he's slightly alongside. Fitterer definitely gives the space. Easy overtake in the end, actually, for Cabras to retake P2 in silver class. Good overtake there. Love to see it. Omoda, meanwhile, still chasing down Dan. We're entering the back straight, so this is the best chance of an overtake. But Dan looks like he got a pretty solid exit there. And there's no way, no better way of saying I'm too fast for bronze class than being consistently ahead of the guy who decides what class you go into. So this is a great advert for him to say I've improved a lot in the off season. I'm expecting, I mean, he'd be second in silver class as well. P13 overall. Really, really solid race so far for Dan. Got a long way to go, obviously, so not counting any chickens because none have hatched yet. A little bit further up, Forza still, well, actually, he's getting caught by Oliver now. So about to come under a little bit of pressure. Oliver also in the Mustang, just like the race leader, so I'm guessing that is a good carve, at least for this track. Let's see what's happening with Weatherston at the front. He's still ahead of this group of cars. Weston's actually caught back up to him. He's 1.6 back on Andy Winters. So Andy struggling to keep pace with Peter, actually a bit slower than Weatherston as well. So he needs to gain his composure, or potentially hope that Weston starts giving Weatherston some grief so that they start losing time battling each other. Weston looks pretty close to try and move. But yeah, this battle for P2, I would say, is wide open between the top 7 cars. Weatherston's definitely the driver under the most pressure at the moment in this race, but he's coping pretty well with it. He's not made any mistakes that we've seen so far, which you wouldn't expect him to make, but if you're going to make one, it's going to be fairly soon. It looks like Weston's got a bit of a run on him, but this straight, the pit straight is too short really to pull alongside in these cars, which is unfortunate. So still lapping around about the same as Andy, still 1.6 back. Let's see what's going on a bit further down. Reg is currently ahead of Scanlon, and Spectre is there in the fun as well. And Forster's going to start closing on these guys soon. It looks like Scanlon is a little bit all over the place on the exit, and Spectre is going to try and get that position. Is he going to be brave on the brakes? He's just not close enough to do a move just yet. And yeah, Forster's going to have to try and do something in the pit strategy to get a bit of clear air here, because if these two are going to start fighting with each other, it's going to cause him to fall back into the clutches of Oliver again. Omoda's still stuck behind Paris here as well, so that's just a great example of how difficult it is to overtake today on this track. We might see some more opportunities a little bit later on when the tyres start going off as well. Maybe a bit of driver fatigue starts setting in. We're still in the opening stages of the race, 13 minutes in. Yeah, that was you could see that was a much better exit from Omoda, taking a lot more speed through the corner than Paris did, but you still can't get that close to him. So that Nissan is actually pretty decent. Even though Paris is the only one in it, he's setting some solid times. Back at the front, Weatherston, well, actually it looks like a little bit of a mistake there for Weston, and he's had to go defensive because Rosnov's going to try and move around the outside. Finally he has a chance to overtake. Is he going to try the switchback? He can't really do it on that corner, and he's going to have to settle in and maybe fight himself against Steenstra, who's on the outside of this next corner. All these drivers incredibly close together. Morrow there looking to see if there's any mistakes, but everyone takes the corner pretty well. Bit of breathing space for Weston, and yeah, the cars are starting to get a little bit impatient now. Let's see what's going on towards the back of the grid. Oh, yeah. Actually, let's stick with Rosnov because he's looking a little bit out of shape here. Steenstra is definitely closing the gap. He's having a little look, but he's gonna have to tuck back in behind because, like I said, this pit straight isn't long enough to get a move done. Rosnov looking a little bit. Well, the micro mistakes are starting to appear in some of these corners. Maybe he is looking a little bit too much in his rearview mirror at the moment. None of these guys really have anything to worry about as long as they don't make mistakes. But yeah, okay, nothing's happening. So let's join this battle between Fracas and Dandas as we go around the final corner. Fracas is wide. Dandas should get this position fairly comfortably on Fracas for P23. They're still side by side. Fracas actually has advantage going into turn 1. Dandas looked like he was trying to hold it, but he couldn't. A little bit of contact with Fracas. Fracas keeps the position. Dandas and Van Hall trying to get a move done, and it looks like O'Leary in with the fun as well, so he's got past Van Hall, and him and Fracas, Dandas, sorry, go wide, and that has allowed Van Hall to get past both of them. Fracas, a little bit of breathing space there. Meanwhile, Capel up into the top 20. Gone a little bit wide there. I think that is He's trying to stick it around the outside of that McLaren. It might be, I can't tell who it is. I think it's Kane. So he's still stuck behind Kane, but in the top 20 at least. All of the gold drivers in the top 20, which is where we expect them to be. Paris just ahead of Omoda still. And Weatherstone's just come alive, because he's completely dropped Weston and the chasing pack, and he's caught up to Andy Winters. He's only 8 tenths behind Andy Winters. The race with P2 is definitely on. So he has definitely started putting his foot down. Maybe he's figured a couple of things out with his car, because he's looking very comfortable at this stage of the race. Andy's starting to lap a little bit quicker than Peter as well. So maybe that's a response to Weatherstone's newfound pace. 7 tenths is the gap at the moment. Dropped Weston to 2 seconds now, who is just ahead of Rosnov, with Steenstra again trying to challenge him into this hairpin. A great exit from this hairpin compared to the other driver would work wonders for Steenstra. He's pretty close, but not close enough. Just 3 tenths back at the moment. He needs to be about 2 or maybe less than 2 tenths back in order to think about a little move. It's a bit unfortunate, the layout of this track, because of the kind of corner that comes at the end of the straight. Oh! Big mistake from Morrow there. He was at the back of the pack anyway, so he should be able to catch up fairly easily. Regnick's in P8, starting to catch up to this pack as well now. Elite Spectre still really close to the back of Bomber. Forza still over a second back on them. And under pressure from Oliver here. So the top 11 all incredibly close. And then there's a 6-second gap to Paris. So Paris definitely hasn't got the pace to keep up with the gold drivers ahead of him. But he does have enough in him to keep Omoda behind him, that's for sure. So this is completely ruining Omoda's race, to be honest. Because once he overtakes Paris, and I think it'll happen eventually, probably in the pits, to be honest, he's got 6 seconds. So unless any of the drivers in front actually start making mistakes, I think it's going to be difficult for him to actually finish higher than 13th in this race. Same could be said for Fitter and Cabras, but they seem to be a similar pace to Paris. Let's see what's going on at the front. Looks like Weatherstone's actually overtaken Andy Winters, so Andy's must have made a mistake somewhere. He's completely dropped back into this pack. So Andy looking a little bit hot and bothered now. Weatherstone up into P2, just like we expected. Our reigning champion is already looking mighty good. Andy must have made a mistake, because Weatherstone's gap to Weston is still fairly similar, and Andy's slotted into the gap between them. So the question is Andy going to regain his composure, or is the battle for P3 well and truly on? He has the pace for it, but that is a little crack in the armour of Andy. He's pretty close to Weatherstone still. Maybe he'll think about another move on him if he can get close enough. Less than half a second behind at the moment. We are 20 minutes in, so I think we're not too far away from the pit window opening. Obviously, it's a very, very long pit stop in ACC, so it's just the one stop in a race. I think if half the field at least came into the pits now, then they would be lapped, or they'd come out a lap down at least. Andy's absolutely being left by Weatherstone here, and Weston's putting loads of pressure on him. Weston really has to think about going for a move fairly soon if he wants to avoid Weatherstone just dropping this pack. Winters, and Weston, and Weatherstone. Yeah, no wonder I'm having difficulty with these names, bloody hell. So P3 to P6 all incredibly close together right now. Winter's still under pressure from Weston. Weston under a little bit of pressure from Rozhnov as well. Rozhnov has had the pace to progress up the grid, but he just hasn't been able to get even a half move on any of these drivers. Weston pushed really wide out there on the exit of the corner. Still doesn't open the door for Rozhnov, even though he thinks about it. He turns in a little bit early just to see what happens, but Weston had him fully covered. Steenstra still lurking in the background as well. He'll be ruining being punted down to P6 on lap 1 because he is still stuck there. Really tight exit from Weston onto the back straight. This could open an opportunity for Rozhnov, as we see they're all coming down single file round the kink. This is where you want to pull aside, but yeah, you can't do it. I think the kink actually stifles the opportunity to have a go at the end of the straight, to be honest. Now, as we round the final corner, Andy's not left them, actually, despite us seeing a few issues for Weston, as he had an issue at the end of that. It looks like Rozhnov has finally got past him. Now Weston battling with Tapos to keep P5. It looks like Weston has kept it for now. So we thought Winters might have been the one moving backwards, but it's actually this guy, Weston, the quickest man in practice, starting to, well, he's just made one little mistake there and lost a position. Great news for Rozhnov. He's one step closer to a podium. There's a drive-through penalty for one of the cars. Stop-go penalty for Dan. That is a rookie mistake that you expect to see. It looks like Tapos is having a go at Weston, and he's got the position. Weston going to try and hold it around the outside, and he's gone very wide. Now Morrow's in with a chance of getting a position as well. Morrow around the outside. Weston's trying everything he can to take the position back off Tapos. Looks like he's done it as well. It's not over yet though, because we're on the back straight now. Looks like a really good exit from Weston. He might have gotten away with this beautifully. He keeps 5th position for now, and it's as you were, despite the position changes between the three of them. Rozhnov, meanwhile, has a little bit of breathing space behind to try and think about a move on Andy Winters. Goes very wide there. I think he got a bit too close to Andy on the exit of that corner, and that's given Andy a slight bit of breathing space. Weston's still under pressure from Steenstra. Steenstra is deciding, actually, I'm just going in the pits now. It's been 24 minutes. I think this is a good opportunity to try and undercut. So we'll have to see where he comes out in relation to everybody else. Yeah, as we were saying, Dan has ruined his strategy. He's made his one pit stop, but you got a drive-through penalty for it. Oliver's made his pit stop, so he was the first of the top guys to come in. He was stuck behind Forza for the whole first stint. So he's got a bit of breathing space here, 6 seconds between him and the car ahead. Kane coming into the pits, just leaving now, and O'Leary's made his first pit stop as well. So those are the guys trying an audacious undercut. Meanwhile, at the front, Rozhnov still glued to the back of Andy Winters' car. Morrow is the new driver who is going to be challenging Weston, and it looks like he's getting a little bit alongside. Actually, no, he couldn't do it there. Bit of a tighter line into the hairpin by Morrow and a wider exit, but it doesn't seem to have done much. Rozhnov is much closer to Andy Winters, actually. And it looks like he's going for it, and he backs out of it the last second. That was really close. And, whoa, very wide there for Rozhnov. That wasn't at all what he was planning on doing. So are there any of these guys coming into the pits just yet? The answer is no, they're all staying out. Weston's still ahead of Morrow. So they're trying a completely different run to Steenstra, for example, who actually comes out. He's 1.4 behind Blocker. This might be the wrong decision for Steenstra. if he catches Blocker quickly and if Blocker blocks him, essentially. So we'll have to see how that pans out. But the battle at the front is still pretty tight. Weatherston's completely dropped Andy Winters. He's 7 seconds off the lead. So not impossible for him to catch, but it's a tall order for Weatherston if he's going to win this race. Andy, meanwhile, oh, that's a lapped car. It's fine. I thought something happened. Yeah, Andy's still doing all right, but he definitely doesn't have the pace that he was showing earlier in the race. So maybe his tires are gone a little bit quicker than the other drivers. Weston seems to be suffering the same fate here. He's dropping back from Andy. So any pits this lap. Let's have a look at Peter. We haven't given him any love on the stream today because he's just driven off from everyone. He's lapping cars left and right. Is he going to come into the pits? He's carrying on for another lap. We're approaching the halfway point now. Weatherston carries on. Absolutely no need for him to come in. Same for Andy and Rozhnov. Morrow deciding that he's going to try a bit of an undercut, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with him and if he comes out ahead or behind of Steenstra. Steenstra is already ahead of Blocker by 1.7 seconds. He's catching Chaos pretty quickly now. So this is going to be interesting to see what he can do. Is he going to catch Druid and come into some trouble at the end of this lap? And is he going to stay ahead of Weston first and foremost, but also Forcer, who's come in as well? Forcer was battling Oliver, so we have to see what happens with those two. Steenstra getting past Chaos. Chaos not really putting up much of a fight there. They're not in the same class after all. He is looking pretty quick. He's dropping people very quickly after he overtakes them. Capel in the pits now as well. The next people for Steenstra to catch look like it's going to be Fracas. Here we go. So where is Weston? Looks like it has worked out well for Steenstra. He is ahead of Weston. Weston's just leaving the pits now, actually. So he is a long way behind Steenstra. No, he's not. There's Steenstra. I can't see. No, that's not Steenstra. That's... Oh, yes, it is. Right, they came out side by side anyway. Sorry about that. I'm blaming ACC. Oh, it looks like Fitzinho was off there. So it did work out for Steenstra just. Although he's got a bit more traffic now. Meanwhile, the battle between Forcer and Oliver was won by Forcer by staying out a bit longer. But look at all these cars really close to each other. Blocker, Van Hol just behind. And I think these cars are getting lapped now. Or potentially they're lapping. No, they're getting lapped. So a bit of a calamity going on at the moment. Looks like the number 22 car just shot it inside of Forcer as well. So this is what can go wrong essentially if you make an early pit stop. You could come out in a weird gaggle of cars. You just need to find parts of the track that are completely clear of any drivers, and that's why the top guys have decided to stay out. All they've got to worry about is lapping some cars, but Peter's going to have to lap about 6 or 7 cars in one go fairly shortly if he doesn't come in. So I'm half expecting him to come in this lap to not have to do that. Whoa, there's some accident going on back there. 2 cars off the track. Yep, Peter's wise there.
We are at the halfway mark, still a long way to go.
Halfway through the race, exactly, and Peter comes into the pits. Weatherston follows him. Andy Winters in as well. Rozhnov decides to take the lead of the race and try an overcut on Andy Winters. So where's Andy going to come out in relation to some of these guys? Regnix is the lead driver of the cars. No, Steenstra is, sorry, as he goes very, very wide there. I have a feeling there's something's gone on. Steenstra was wide, Regnix was looking slow and got overtaken. But Steenstra is the lead driver of the cars that have made pit stops. He came in much earlier than everyone else, just ahead of Regnix. Weston falling behind Regnix there as well, Fawcett a little bit further back, and then Oliver stuck behind a couple of bronze drivers at the moment who haven't made their pit stop. Peter is just leaving the pits now, so expecting him to be a comfortable P1. Steenstra is still going down the back straight as he's heading for the exits of the pit, so this is very comfortable at the moment for Peter. He had about a 7-second gap on Weatherston coming into the pits. I'd be interested to know if it stayed like that. There's the Honda behind him. That doesn't look like 7 seconds going this speed to me, but I might be wrong. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So Peter is out. 6.1 seconds looks like it was the gap before, or maybe that's what the gap is now, so maybe Weatherston's gained 9/10 over the last lap or so. So they rejoin in P4 and P5. Peter is 1.9 behind Brian, and the order now looks to be Peter, Weatherston, Andy Winters still in P3. Scanlon is stuck behind this, I can't figure out which driver that is. It's a purple car. It's not Andy though. It's not Fitzinho, who's showing as in P6 at the moment. It's actually Steenstra. So Steenstra is actually still ahead of Scanlon and 3 seconds behind Andy Winters. So Steenstra's had some pretty decent pace today. I think he could catch Andy, but if he starts battling with Scanlon behind... Oh, Chaos got hit off. That's unfortunate, man. Maybe that's why we saw Steenstra off track as well there. And yeah, this looks like the tightest battle. The battle for net P4. Rosnov is finally in the pits, so what's going to happen between him and the rest of these guys? Is he going to slot in just behind Andy Winters, which is where he was before Andy came into the pits? That would be back out in 4th place for Rosnov. So let's join with Andy. Fitzinho's doing pretty well. I know he's not pit yet, but for a bronze driver to be in P6 after all this time, it's not bad. So, oh, there he is. Where did he come out? Rosnov is in P3. He's actually got a huge overcut done on Andy Winters. He's out in P4. Overall P3 if you take out Brian, who still has to pit. Let's join Weatherston because he's going to catch Brian pretty quickly, I reckon. So yeah, great decision by Rosnov, just staying out later than everyone else. Everyone started tripping over each other in that pit sequence, which with 32 drivers on the track, I think you want to leave it as late as humanly possible before you make your stop. Unless you come into traffic, like a lot of traffic though, in terms of lapping cars who've already made their stop when you haven't. So I think Rosnov really had the best strategy there. Obviously Peter played it to perfection as well, pitting just before catching a huge group of cars, which would have slowed him down immensely. The gap looks to be 5.8 seconds between Peter and Weatherston at the moment, as Brian finally comes into the pits. Probably before he gets caught by Weatherston and loses time that way. So 6.1 actually is the gap. So Peter having a good opening lap there. Peter still has the fastest lap as well. And he was a lot quicker than the whole field on the start of the stint last time round. And then started tailing off towards the end of his stint. A little bit compared to Weatherston. Weatherston's times seem to be a bit more consistent, but Peter's seems to be quicker initially and then slower later on. But Peter's got loads of time before he catches the next car to be lapped, the number 27 car. So that's how it looks in the top 3. Andy Winters is caught up to Fitzinho now, so I wonder if Fitzinho's going to get in his way and back him up a little bit into Morrow. Morrow P6, Steenstra's actually dropped to 7th now, so he's had another nightmare just ahead of Scanlon and Regnix, and Elite Spectre in P10. Weston down to 11th as well. Terrible pit window for Western, dropping from 5th to 11th. That's definitely the biggest loser out of the top guys, that's for sure. Now, is Fitzinho going to pit this lap, or is he going to continue giving grief to Andy Winters, who's dropped about 6 seconds behind Rozhnov now? He was ahead of him before Rozhnov pit, which was not long ago. Oh, really wide there for Fitzinho. That's going to cost Andy even more time. And yeah, Andy swoops past. Fitzinho's dived into the pits. Morrow's very close to Andy now with a better run into the final corner. He might get a slingshot out this corner and have a go at Andy. It looks like he might just be a little bit too far back to properly reel him in. But yeah, top 5 for Morrow now. Good pit window for him. Steenstra back up into 6th. Scanlon is 7th. Then we got Regnick's 8th. Weston up into 10th place, 9th in class. And yeah, the odd one out is Elite Spectre up in P8. Really bringing it to these guys, and I've got to say I'm a bit surprised that Fitterer is all the way down in 14th. It will become 13th, because Fitzinho's going to spend a bit of time in the pits. A little bit further down. The bronze guys, the top guy in bronze who's made his pit stop is Danders. I wonder where Fitzinho is going to come out in relation to him. It's like Van Hall is a fair way back from Fitzinho as well, though. Actually, no, he's actually passed him. And Blocker has passed Fitzinho as well, but they still have to make the pit stops. So really, the net race lead is between Fitzinho coming out of the pits, and he's just started to get going now as Danders is rounding the final corner. I think it's going to be pretty close between these two heading into turn 1. Let's join with Fitzinho. He's coming out slowly. It looks like he's lost that position to Danders fairly convincingly there in the end. But he is going to come out second in class. He's going to come out actually lapped by... that's a really slow exit for... Oh, he's got a drive-through. Just like Dan, who was leading the class, Fitzinho gets a drive-through as well. And he's going to drop all the way back out of contention. So this is great news for Danders, great news for Chaos, great news for Fracas. They're all probably going to be passing Fitzinho when he serves that drive-through penalty. Hall and Blocker still doing pretty well as well. They'll be ahead of Fitzinho. At the front, the gap is currently 6.3, so Peter doing a little bit better in the opening phase of this stint. Rozhnov just under 5 seconds back from them, and then a big gap down to Andy Winters, who still hasn't shook Morrow. So Morrow showing some good pace here. Maybe we'll have a chance of getting past Andy. Both of them quite robust when it comes to battling that we've seen so far since I started commentating. Then a little bit of a gap to Steenstra and Scanlon. Spectre, Regnick's, Weston, all fairly close to each other here. Looks like Morrow might be having a go at Winters, though. Nothing he could do there. Meanwhile, Steenstra is going for it. Defending pretty well. Scanlon was trying something different. Steenstra really wobbly on the braking, but he keeps the position and takes the corner pretty well in the end. Losing a bit more time to Andy and Morrow through these corners. Scanlon might be fancying this. Porsche versus McLaren. Not yet. He'll be biding his time. Number 25 has just served a drive-through penalty. That is Skipper's. Unfortunately, he is down in last place, 32nd. I think you need to finish 30th to get a point, by the way. I'm pretty sure that's what the rules say. Skipper's getting out of the way of everyone. Yeah, he's in that phase where every car that passes him will be lapping him, and he'll just be losing loads of time. We see it all the time in F1. As soon as one of the back markers starts getting lapped, they suddenly find themselves 2 laps down because they've lost so much time. Scanlon's still trying a move on Steenstra around the outside this time. Couldn't do it. That doesn't seem to be an overtaking spot. I think you just have to be really brave on the inside to get a move done. Spectre stalking the back. So I think Spectre, that's Agsteribe, I think that's his name, and Steenstra are friends. They've played GT7 together, then they joined ACC together, and they are together on track, just separated by one Irishman. One Irishman who is fed up of being stuck behind Steenstra. It must be very frustrating in ACC when you got the pace and there's just nothing you can do to get past. Because we've not seen many legit overtakes today, it's got to be said. Same could be said for Valencia as well. Wasn't a good overtaking track. And in the Nordschleife we saw a lot of mistakes. We saw a lot of mistakes today as well, actually. Which is exciting, but it would be good to see some on-track overtakes as well. You go, Scanlon is closing in once again in this tight infield section in this sector 1. But yeah, Steenstra's just not making any mistakes. So number 15 served his drive-through. That's Alex. She's number 15. She served a drive-through. She's still in 31st despite that. So comfortably ahead of Skippers. 2 laps down on P30 though, and that elusive point. Fitzpatrick has served his penalty, and he is just 0.8 of a second ahead of Paris, who's also had a drive-through penalty. So these guys were battling for class win. They're now together on track again, but battling for P28 and P29. That's just... oh, it's hardly any points. Blocker's finally in the pits as well, so he might even be class leader at the end of this. Or maybe in the top 3 in class at least. It looks like he's going to get overtaken by Dandes. So we are 26 laps in. Peter's extended his gap by a further second since we last checked. 7.8 is the gap now. Rojnov lapping very similarly to Weatherston, so Peter definitely the quickest guy on track and proving it with the fastest lap as well. Winters still holding off Moro. Looks like he's getting a little bit more impatient, deciding to drive a little bit closer to the gearbox of Andy Winters. Oh, Andy makes a mistake, and this has opened the door finally for Morrow. Andy tries to close the door. Morrow was there. Andy still got the position, but Morrow has the best chance that he's probably going to get to overtake Andy. Andy's going defensive. Morrow is going to dummy him and goes on the inside. They make a little bit more contact. Andy shoves Morrow off track, makes a spin, and that is both of their races impacted there. Morrow gets the position. He takes it. Andy... well, Steenstra actually was 4 seconds back when all that started happening, and he hasn't managed to overtake them all, despite that half spin for Andy. Steenstra, Morrow off track, both on the inside of the corner and the outside on the exit. But this has worked out fairly well for Morrow, as long as he hasn't got damage, because he looked like, up to that point, he had more pace than Andy. Andy should have given him more space in that corner. But Morrow got the position anyway. He's now got 10 seconds behind Rosnov, so I don't think he would have been able to catch Rosnov as it stands. But, yeah, he's got that P4, which is important. Now, is Steenstra... Steenstra's actually dropped Scanlon a little bit. There's gaps forming a little bit further back. Scanlon looks like he's dropped a couple of positions, actually, so a mistake somewhere for Scanlon. Let's see where he crosses the line. He was 7th. He's dropped to 8th. He's dropped to 9th. He's behind Weston now. So Weston taking advantage of the chaos that we saw earlier in the lap. Regnick's in 10th in the hunt as well. So he's the next one to try and start challenging Scanlon. Regnick's, of course, started P3. Had a bad opening lap and has been trying to recover ever since, but not been too successful at it. Opportunity might come now. Car's looking a little bit dirty, a little bit battered on Scanlon. Yeah, he's not keeping up the pace with the guys that he was ahead of. So Scanlon's lost a bit of something here. And then Forcer all the way down in 11th on his own. Still comfortably ahead of Oliver. Oliver's trying to catch him up after having a poor pit window. So now the next battle is going to be Winters versus Steenstra. Steenstra seems to have shook off the cars behind, who was causing him a little bit of grief, and now fancying a bit of a move. Andy racing in P2 at the beginning of the race has dropped down to 5th, and it might be even worse before the end of the race. Got 13 minutes left. Spectre doing great. P7 for Silver. The next highest Silver driver is 13th. And then in the battle for P1 in Bronze, let's just join that for a second. Dandes, I'm trying to see what the gap between Dandes and Chaos is. It might be quite a lot, to be honest. Let's just try and see if I can find the number 66 on the minimap. He might be close to a lap up, potentially. No, he's about a sector up on Druid. 28 seconds, there we go. 28 seconds is the gap. That's why it took 28 seconds for it to appear. So, in cruise control for Druid, Fitzpatrick really close to Druid, so fancying P3 in class. Then there's Paris, then there's Black, then there's Van Hall, and finally Blocker, who was the last driver to pit. I thought he'd come out a little bit higher than that, to be honest. Winters going very deep in that corner. You could see Steenstra just reel him in really nicely. Now, Andy has to nail this final one. It seems like he has. Needs to withstand the pressure because it's going to be on him for the rest of the race here. Meanwhile, Spectre's under some pressure himself from Weston. Weston fancying an extra position. Andy's got a drive-through penalty for track limits. Wow. It was going so well for him, and now he's going to lose so many points. Just cut too many corners trying to defend, I suppose. And that's what happens when you got drivers behind you the whole race. You are under a lot of pressure to keep the pace and push the limits, and that sometimes means that you cut a corner or go a little bit too wide, gain a bit of an advantage through it as well if you don't lift. But if you lift, you're probably losing a position. So things have gone from bad to worse for Andy. Race started so well for him, managed to get his way up into P2. Yeah, where's that going to put him? Potentially outside the top 15. I wonder what he'll be saying in his party chat right now. Nothing that we could broadcast, I don't think. So great news for Steenstra. Although Chaos said in the chat he got hit off by Steenstra, so potentially that is going to get reported and Steenstra could lose P5. Andy's in the pits now. Let's see. I think this is just a drive-through, so he's not going to have to make a stop. He's not going to lose too much time, but look how slow his car has had to fall to. I think that's him, actually, because it looked like it increased in time a little bit. He's already outside the top 10. Here comes Oliver, his friend in real life, and buddy, overtaking him. He's down to at least 14th now. Make that 15th, 16th. Pole might be the one that he comes out challenging. Pole is down in 16th place. Actually, no, Pole's comfortably ahead. He'll slot in 16th between Pole and Capel. Very unfortunate for Andy Winters there. And we've got another drive-through for car number 199. That's Fitzinho. Fitz was battling for a podium in bronze class after serving a drive-through already for speeding in the pit lane. He's going to serve another one, handing a podium in class for Paris. So he'll be pretty pleased with that. Should be a lot higher up Paris as well. For the Nürburgring as well. Well, you're going to see the password, but whatever. Let's hope this just rejoins. Here we go. So, let's return to garage and let's see if I missed anything. Like we said, Andy had dropped all the way down into 16th. He's gonna try and chase down Paul, who he's actually battling in class. He's actually second to last in class. Capel is last in class by quite a margin. Andy with his drive-through dropped from top 5 to 16th overall, but there are 3 silver drivers in there. Morrow is a solid P4 now. Rozhnov all on his own in P3, 9 seconds ahead. Steenstra is not too far behind. 3.6 behind. Just ahead of Spectre, who himself is just ahead of Weston. Then there's a little bit of a gap to Regnick. So let's join on board with Weston, who's got the best chance of gaining a position here. This is extra points in the overall standings. And the overall standings is what I would count as the most important ones, rather than class standings when it comes to gold. They are a lot more important for silver and bronze, the class standings. But you want to be ahead and getting as much points as possible in every single race, so I don't think Weston's just going to settle behind Spectre here. Not if an opportunity comes up. He's got 7 minutes to do it as well, so quite a long time still left in this race really. About 5 laps potentially. Weatherston and Peter pretty identical on pace these last few laps as well. The gap's maintained between 7 and 8 seconds for quite a while now. I'm expecting maybe a late charge from Weatherston, but it ain't going to be enough, not with 7 minutes left. Meanwhile, a little bit shaky on the exit there for Spectre. Thought that it was going to open a chance for Weston, but not much to do there. It's probably the second best overtaking spot on the track, that corner. Maybe the best, actually. Drive through for 92. That is Omoda. Omoda is the 3rd driver that we've seen in the last couple of laps get a drive-through penalty, and he's worked his way up back into 12th place after being down in about 15th for the longest time. He managed to get past Forza. Forza's having an absolute nightmare today. Luckily, your worst round does drop off, so this, for him, he'll be hoping that this is his worst round, and there'll be a lot more podiums to come, just like last season. But for Omoda, he'll be thinking the exact same, because he's got a drive-through penalty. He might drop, well, maybe towards 20th position. Yeah, looking through this, I think you've got to say Spectre needs to be bumped up to gold based on this. This is like what Ben was doing last season, just comfortably with the top guys, even though he's been under a bit of pressure. Oh, drive through for 92. Is that another one? No, he's just crossed the start finish line. Deciding not to set the drive through yet. You have 3 laps to do it in, so you can strategize a little bit to try and minimize the damage. Weston's still not able to get past Spectre though. Spectre's defending really well, like I was saying, really showing that he can cut it with the top guys in the league, which is kind of what I expected, to be honest. Personally, a bit surprised that he came back and was put in silver, because he was super quick in Season 1. I don't know if he's been playing the game or not, but sometimes you don't need much practice to get back up to the speed that you used to have. See what's going on a little bit further down. Looks like a little bit of a battle between Maura, Tierney, Bayliss, who is Munken, doing pretty well to be silver. Oh! Wow. Wow. That was unfortunate for Munken. I'm sorry, caught it on camera. O'Leary now has a chance to get past him because he's only 0.4 of a second away. Surely Munken has some damage there. His car's looking very battered compared to O'Leary's. So O'Leary might have that extra position coming his way. Dander's pretty close behind now as well. Oh, Leary just goes incredibly deep there. I don't know what happened to him. Just got that corner completely wrong. Locked up, I think, but we didn't see any smoke. Very strange incident there. So, a little bit further up, we have... Wow, a lot of cars really close together here. There's lapped cars to take into account as well, but we might see some overtakes if the lapped cars start getting in the way. Someone went off track there. I think it was a lapped car. Yeah, it wasn't one of the top guys. So Omoda is going to have to serve his drive-through fairly soon. Pole, whoa, he goes wide, lets Andy Winters back through. So that's a gift for Andy. Back into the top 15 at least. And this is, like I said, where you start to see the mistakes creeping in. We've got Peter with a 7.7 second lead with 3 minutes to go. Something disastrous would have to happen for him to lose the win at this stage. Really solid recovery from P8 on the grid for Weatherston. Picked his way through the pack very nicely indeed. Rosnov, first race that I've seen him racing, potentially his first proper ALR debut, and really solid podium. I think we can expect big things for him. 3 different cars on the podium for the opening race, none of them the McLarens, which looked like the quickest car, to be honest, so bit of a nightmare for those guys. Porsche's not looking too good. The best Porsche is the Silver Cup driver, which is crazy. Just ahead of Weston still. Weston can't do anything to get past him at the moment in that McLaren. Just 2.5 minutes left to go. Let's see. Omoda's in the pits now. He is just coming out of it. So let's see how this is impacted on his race. He's going to be behind Pole. Then, yeah, he's going to be between Pole and Capel, just like when Andy Winters came out between Pole and Capel, where there is a huge gap between those guys and everyone else is lapped cars. So Omoda losing 3 or 4 positions there in the end. Not the worst, but certainly something that he'll be regretting right now. Weston's still looking to have a go at Spectre, but he's really running out of time now. This is probably going to be the final lap of the race that they're about to start. Maybe one more. I don't know. It depends on what the leader is going to do. If he starts an extra lap in the next minute and 22, I think he will. Yeah, still nothing Weston can do about it. This has been a very solid job from Spectre, keeping him behind. Steenstra managing to just drive away a little bit, consolidate that P5, and Morrow is miles up the road at P4 now. Bit of a different makeup to the top 5 compared to what I expected. But let's join Peter, give him a bit of love for the last lap and a bit of the race, I think it will be. Because he's not put a foot wrong. He got to the front at the start. He didn't have the best of starts, actually, nearly lost the lead. But since basically the end of Sector 1 on lap 1, he has been pretty much on his own. This is the final lap that he's starting. Number 27 driver, this is Hashbringer. This is one of the ACC helpers in ALR. And he's definitely chose a good car for the season, the Mustang, because he's managed to not only get to the front, but also just cruise to a win. I wonder what Weatherston could have done if he'd had a better qualifying. I don't think he would have been able to get close enough to have a go at him, to be honest. He's in cruise control, about to lap some drivers as well. There we go, nice and easy. I'm not sure if Peter's won a race before. I would be surprised if he hadn't with this kind of pace. He must have shown it previously. The races that I commentated last season, I don't think he had the best races. I know he could have had a podium in Brands, or maybe he did get into the podiums. I don't know. I think I remember seeing him spin though. So not done any of that today. Been super consistent, and he's gonna round these final corners with a smile on his face. No one in gold tier chose the Ford Mustang apart from Peter. He's gone completely the opposite to other drivers. Is it going to work out for him in the long run when we have different cars, different courses, favouring different cars? He won't be thinking about that now because he is the winner of round 1 of season 4 of GC7 ACC. Very good result for Peter. Weatherston crossing the line in P2. Solid recovery drive for him. Rosnov will be very pleased with his podium. On the opening round, definitely one to watch as the season goes on. Morrow showing loads of pace. Could have been closer if he wasn't stuck behind cars at the start. Really solid P4 for him. Steenstra is going to stay P5. Actually, yeah, he does. Just ahead of Spectre, who manages to fend off Weston. Regnix is going to be P8. He did manage to get past Scanlon at the end. I don't know if Scanlon had damage, but he lost a lot of speed at the end there. P9 for him. Oliver's going to round out the top 10. Fitterer recovering to 11th and second in class, so a good recovery drive for him. Cabaras a solid P3 in class for him as well. And then just looking a little bit further down, Dandes is going to take victory in bronze ahead of Paris, who is just 2 seconds ahead of Chaos, so managed to get past Chaos. Fitz is down in 5th in class after serving his drive-through. So yeah, They handed it on a silver platter to Dandes, who looks like he didn't make any mistakes there. Paris with the drive-through still only 23 seconds off of Dandes in the end. Solid result for Chaos, who said he got punted off in the chat as well. So, who struggled? Looks like Capel and O'Morda struggled in gold. Kane, should he be in bronze? I'm going to say he kind of should be in bronze there. O'Leary, miles ahead of him, was the next worst silver driver. And then Alex, 7 laps down. Skippers, 3 laps down on the driver in front as well. So that's interesting. Peter's going to have the championship lead. And Weatherston is really in the mix. But I have a feeling Weatherston's car is going to struggle this season. I think he hasn't chose one of the meta ones, but to be P2 in a non-meta car is very impressive. So that is, yeah, that's how the championship is shaping up. So join us next week. We'll have round 2. I don't know where we are. Have a look in Discord. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And